Hill in the gun with Hill to his right. Play action to the right. Steps up, throws over the middle. He's got Thornton. Caught it! Junior Thornton. Split. 6. Touchdown. Midway.
Smoaky.com presents the Texas High School Football Show on Sikkim 365 Radio. Brought to you by Peters Chevrolet, Bubba's 33, TFNB, your bank for life, and Texas Farm Bureau Insurance.
Hill, right side, finds a seam. Hill, 20. Hill, 10. Hill, touchdown. Midway, no flags. Midway takes the lead by more than one score. And how about the Big Uglies inside?
Now, here's David Smoak.
It is already week number 3 of the 2022 Texas high school football season. Man, time flies. College football, of course, had their first full weekend with all the greatness of that. And then the NFL starts this week, and so the full, everybody is up and at 'em now and doing their thing when it comes to football. But high school football in Texas, we're in week 3. There are 11 regular season weeks, depending on how many teams are in your district. And then, of course, the playoffs, the 6 rounds of the playoffs to eventually everybody will converge at, well, where the Cowboys play, where they play Sunday night against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, state championship week right before Christmas. So here we are in week number 3. Looking back, what we'll do, look at a couple of the maybe 3 to 5 games that caught my attention last week. We'll also have an historical note or two. We'll have a question that you have asked me about covering high school football. This is my 42nd year. And interviews today with Connally football coach Terry Gerik after their dramatic win against La Vega. And then also we'll hear from Micah Simpson, a running back quarterback, from Greenville, who had an unbelievable game this past week in their win. He'll join us today as well. Let's look back at some of the key games from last week. And one of them is a game that I covered for years and years and years in East Texas. Legacy and Tyler High. They went 4 overtimes, Legacy winning 29-27. Kicker Christian Baxter kicked a 49-yard field goal with no time left in the game to force overtime, and then Legacy won the game 29-27. An interesting note, Legacy, who was once Robert E. Lee, and Tyler High used to be John Tyler, yes, Earl Campbell, and so much more. That series at one point, I always want to say JT because of John Tyler, but Tyler High School led that series 26 wins to 13 and 1 tie. Since that time, since 1999, or since the mid-90s, Legacy has now won 20 of the last 27 times, and it really has turned around. They're completely even with the historical 33 wins, and 1 tie. Geyer slammed Aledo 44-14. Aledo, Tim Buchanan, of course, great coach, all those state championships, more than anybody else in Texas history. They've dropped to 0-2. Of course, they've played a very difficult schedule. How about China Spring? How about China Spring being down throughout the game against Melissa, and then they come back to win it 42-41. They have got that swagger. They have that swagger. They're playing Mejia this week. Mejia's given up a lot of points, and that thing could get out of hand pretty quickly. Also, Van with a win against Chapel Hill, 23-17. Chapel Hill's off to an 0-2 start. Jeff Reardon, their head coach, remember last year they made a trip to the semifinals with a very young team. A lot of expectations. They opened up with a loss to Gilmer. A lot of people lose to Gilmer. Lost to Van 23-17. Jared Moffitt and Van, the Vandals, with a very, very nice win there. Cisco and Wall. Man, they always play great games, 18-14 Cisco. We mentioned Terry Gerik, Connally's coach, will join us today. That's one that was dramatic, 35-34, and Connally's off to a 2-0 start, and they play Cameron Yo this weekend. We'll discuss that game in a minute. Cibolo Steel 35 and Lake Travis 28. Lake Travis, there's a lot of teams with lineage, state championships, really good because the non-district schedules are just so strong. Lake Travis has started out with an 0-2 record as well. Now, a couple of notes that I try to bring you every single week here on the statewide high school football podcast. Career rushing yards. Kenneth Hall has held this record, well, since his last year at Sugar Land High School in 1953. 11,232 yards career rushing. And the question is anyone ever going to get even close to him? Well, a couple of people have. Jonathan Gray, the high-level recruit out of Aledo, played at Texas. He got to within nearly 350 yards of him, but not quite. And, I mean, Gray was putting up numbers since his freshman year. Traylon Shedd, Cayuga won a state championship in Deep East Texas over near Palestine. He eventually went to the University of Texas as a running back, ended up playing defensive line. Great young man. Malcolm Kennedy was the quarterback of that Cayuga team, played at Texas A&M. Traylon Shedd, third all-time. And there's a slight drop to Trevor Spates out of Memorial High School in McAllen. That's pretty recent, as was Corey Kyle from Seagraves, right there with 9,561 yards. If you look at the four underneath Kenneth Hall, like a 50 to 60-year difference from when he started his high school career to those who have gotten close to him since that time. Now, career receiving yards. Some of these names may seem familiar. Jordan Shipley played at a couple of different schools, Rotan and then Burnett. 5,424 yards receiving. Jackson Smith in Jigba at Rockwall. He's now at Ohio State. Look how close he got. 21 yards for the all-time career receiving records mark. Jared Reagan from Booker. Marvin Mims, who's now at Oklahoma, from Lone Star in Frisco. And Hunter Hawthorne from Bells, 4,851. Those are the career receiving yards leaders, and now rushing yards and receiving yards. When we come back, his team with a very important win. Last year, Terry Gerik took over the program. He was an assistant coach under Shane Anderson for a long time at Connally. He now is the head coach. Last year's team was okay. They lost their star running back, and they are 2-0 with a very impressive win against La Vega this past week. And we'll hear from Terry Gerik from Connally High School next on the statewide high school football podcast brought to you by Smoaky.com.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Smoaky.com presents the Texas High School Football Show on 365 Sports. Brought to you by Peters Chevrolet, Bubba's 33, TFNB Your Bank for Life, and Texas Farm Bureau Insurance.
We are back with the Texas statewide podcast, high school football podcast, powered by Smoaky.com and 365 Sports, and joined by Connally football coach, the Cadets head coach Terry Gerik, who joins us as well this week with one of the more dramatic and big-time wins this past week in week 2 of the high school football season. Terry, thanks for your time. I know you're focused on Yo, and you need to be because they're good as well, but what was the weekend like after the dramatic win against La Vega?
Well, I told the kids, enjoy Friday night, enjoy Saturday, but we got to get our minds focused on Cameron this week. So, La Vega game, big win. But if we don't take care of this, that game doesn't really matter.
Well, let's talk about, do you mind, discuss Yo. They have a running back in Bradley who put up big numbers in their win against Yoakum. They've won big. They've put up a ton of points in their first couple of games. And Rick Rhodes seems like he's turning the corner again, where he had so much success in that tradition at Yo. Your thoughts about what you see from the Yeomen on film?
Very athletic. I mean, their whole squad, very athletic team. They got 4 wide receivers that can go. Their quarterback, he can spin it and he can run it, and he can get after it. Their running back, he's really, really good. So not only against last week against La Vega, we saw a good one. We're going to see a really good one again this week. Defensively, kids never stop. They just play extremely hard and get after it.
Have you ever played a game anywhere at all at that stadium?
I've been to that stadium before, and it's a little different. I talked to our kids about atmosphere. We're going to have to walk through their home stands, basically. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure they're still going to put us in the old gym over there. but it is going to be a little bit different. So we've been talking to the kids about that.
What do you think makes Texas high school football, as much as other states have gotten really good in the talent level in Florida, Georgia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, California, Louisiana, is really, really good, and they feed colleges as well. But what makes Texas high school football so special?
More than anything, I think it's, our coaches are full-time teachers. And so we're here with these kids every day. I mean, we probably spend more time with these kids than we would do our own families. And not only that, if you go to a Friday night football game in the state of Texas, the stands are going to be packed from community members. And you don't always get that fan base from everywhere else.
Have you ever experienced any other state outside of Texas in high school football?
Just briefly watching a few things, but no, I haven't been to any games outside of Texas.
Well, we mentioned Yo and Cameron and their stadium. Of course, it's very unique, as you mentioned, and some of the traditions there. The fans stack throughout the attendance is fantastic. The coaches, as you mentioned, the commitment, the financial commitment, the players, everything involved. If you could change one thing about the state and how high school football is played or anything about it, what would you do?
I don't know. Maybe if I could put a dormitory over here next to our field house to watch these kids 24 hours a day, that would be pretty nice. I don't think we'll ever get to do anything like that.
What is it like to be a father for some of your players, and even if they have fathers in their lives, to be such a role model for them?
That's part of why we're in this. We just want these kids to become great young men, whether they're a husband, whether they're a brother, a great employee one day. And so some of the things we teach them here, is accountability. And so that's huge for us.
How is it when you have to sit down with a young man that might not be doing what he needs to do, whether it's in class, whether it's in practice, whether it's when he's gone? How are those conversations? How do you handle those conversations?
Well, sometimes they're kind of rough. And at the same time, we let that young man know that we love him and we care about him. But sometimes we have to have a tough conversation. And if we don't have those tough conversations, then we're not doing our job on our end.
How much better are you and why as a coach right now than you were at this time last year?
The truth is I got some veteran coaches on my staff, and I can trust them. And instead of me doing everything, I have to be able to delegate some of that stuff and trust some of those guys. And that's hard to do on a daily basis. It's hard to do because you want to be involved. But I do have some veteran coaches on my staff that has made things a little easier for us.
Do you look now at what head coaches do, because you are one, compared to what it was like when you were a coordinator or an assistant coach?
Both jobs are extremely busy. The truth is I don't get to do as much football as I would like to do every day. There's a lot of other things that go into it with the athletic director duties. But it is a big difference. It is a big difference, and both of them are extremely busy the whole time.
All right, so you obviously, with the great win against La Vega, I know you want to focus on Yo. We've done that. What was it like late in the game? You hung around. You found a way not to give up maybe that one more play when you were down a couple of scores. What was it like those last few minutes and how you saw your team grow up right in front of you?
You just said it, David. They exactly did. They grew up in front of us right there. They showed some maturity level, but it was a very exciting moment. And we preached all week. You can't hang your head if you make a mistake or something goes wrong. We have to play the next play. And nothing we can do. We can't go backwards. We have to play the next play. And our kids bought into that this week. And they were out there on the field the whole time saying, play the next play, play the next play.
You've got a special quarterback, and you have others around him. There's other players that are making plays. But Jelani seems to be much more mature than his even age and experience. To have him be the one that leads that offense, and I know what he does with special teams and on defense as well, but can you try to describe him as a football player?
Believe it or not, he's kind of laid back until it's competition time. He gets very focused. He gets very serious. And he's not afraid to call out a teammate, but he's not going to call out a teammate unless he's doing it correctly too. Great young man. And I'll tell you this, he gets mad at himself more than he gets mad at anything else. Just a great competitor.
So you have to score, and you do. And then, of course, you have to kick the extra point. And we saw what happened. What was it? Late in the game, Florida State LSU. They were so excited, everyone forgot to do their job in the extra point. What was that like? Was it pandemonium? Was it chaos? Was it everything's calm? What was that like?
Well, I think about half of us were chaos, and I was not too worried about the extra point. I mean, we work it every day. I have a great young man in Eric Lahr that kicks a very good deep snapper. And so they do a good job. We work it every day. And I don't know if people know this. One of the big plays on the night was Eric Lahr, our kicker, chased down one of their kickoff returns that almost got returned for a touchdown. And so he had a heck of a night. He did a great job.
All right, so you said enjoy it Friday. Of course they did, and then Saturday and get back to business. What's this week been like?
We didn't have school Monday and Tuesday, so it was a little different practice routine. So we did get out of our routine a little bit. But I'm telling you, Monday morning, 7 a.m., on the field going, kids were excited, upbeat, probably more in tune and more focused than they've been in a long time.
Well, that's a team that has been, we know, with Don Hyde, Willie Williams before them, the series, it's been since 2014 since you'd won. And they've been running the area for a long, long time. Now, how important was that win just for where you are in a way with what it meant to Connally High School and the neighborhood and community?
It was huge, They're 5 minutes away, basically.
Yep.
I mean, 5 minutes, we're right there. And so for the community, for the school district, for the kids at school, for the parents, for the players, they know they belong. They know they can play with great competition, and they belong up there.
Kobe Black, how good is your young star in Kobe Black?
He's phenomenal. He's very I don't know if I have the words to explain him. He is a very special young man and just gets better every day.
Terry, did you hear from any of the former players after the win Friday night?
We did. I heard from a few of them. Galen Glenn used to play quarterback for us. He texted out to some of the coaches and everything and on Twitter. But we heard from some former players, and we had some former players there, and they were just as excited as could be.
All right, your goals: make the playoffs, win a district title, play Thanksgiving, of course, play in December as well. It's just early September. There's a long way to go and some more tests down the road as well. Your team, whatever you've done, none of that matters eventually with your goals. But how you and I have traded a few texts, and we have the Connally football games on Power 108 and also Sikkim 365 radio online. Is this team a little ahead of where you thought or a lot ahead of where you thought?
We're probably just a little. Not a lot. Defensively, we still got some things to work on. And the kids are buying in. They're being more coachable than they've ever been. Offensively, our game plan this week was to run the football. Mm-hmm. And our kids bought into that. So offensively, we're not where we want to be yet. So I think we got to make strides in the next few weeks before we get to district.
Jerry Gerik, head coach at Connally. They just beat La Vega. They're 2-0. They hammered Mejia in the opening game, and now with Yo on the road in Cameron coming up in week number 3. This team appears to have great camaraderie, seems to have tremendous chemistry, all those words you hear. Of course, you could be 0-2 and you could still have that. But you told me a few weeks ago that there was something about this team and you really liked them. There's not a lot of drama. When did you know that was going to be the case?
Probably early on in two-a-days. We just got some quality kids. They're quality kids, and they buy into what we ask them to do. They're better in the classroom. They're better in the hallways. They're better in the field house. They're better outside of school. And we just got some good quality kids. And so during two-a-days, we noticed that all the coaching staff were out of the way. We noticed what we had out there, and it was just it just felt different.
Is that culture? Is that like you hear that tremendous culture? That doesn't mean you have it every year, but you try to build it like that?
Yes, sir. And, it just takes some buy-in from the kids. It takes some buy-in from the coaches. It takes some buy-in from the school district and the community. And we've been fortunate. We've been fortunate here at Connally, and they're figuring it out.
Terry, congratulations. That game's over. Now you have Yo. Should be a tremendous game. Might be a shootout. You mentioned the defense has to get has to do some things to tweak it here and there and tighten it up. Appreciate your time. Congratulations on a huge win against La Vega.
Thank you, David.
Terry Gerik, the head football coach at Connally. The Cadets are 2-0. Yo coming up on the road. This is the statewide Texas High School Football Podcast, powered by Smoaky.com.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Smoaky.com presents the Texas High School Football Show on 365 Sports. Brought to you by Peters Chevrolet, Bubba's 33, TFNB, your bank for life, and Texas Farm Bureau Insurance.
Every week I ask you, and we have built up some questions over the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season, a question you might have about a team, a program, a history, tradition, rivalry, whatever. And then some of them have been about whatever I've done in 42 years. My first ever game I covered was in November of 1981, and here we are in 2022. What high school coach did you first start off struggling to know, or vice versa, but became a great relationship? From Terrence, Boulder in Waco. There's one answer for me. I have been very fortunate because coaches do appreciate the coverage. Now, there are some in Texas that sometimes they just, it's old school. And again, I'm old school at 63, but they just really, it's not that they don't want attention. They just don't want anything to ever become more than the team, outside of the team. There are some coaches over the years that just refuse to turn in any kind of statistics of a player. Whether a quarterback's thrown for a bunch of yards and touchdowns or a running back has scored a bunch of touchdowns and rushed for 300 or 400 yards, or in some cases, anything individual. Every single week, and ever since I opened up and owned and started Smoaky.com in the summer of 2002, 2002, I have tried to gather Player of the Week stats, put up nominations, and then we've had a way to say, for example, we're about to hear from Micah Simpson from Greenville. He's our East Texas Offensive Player of the Week, even though Greenville's kind of attached more into Dallas. We've always just kind of grabbed onto Greenville as well. Paris, Sulphur Springs, Greenville, whatever. But the one that came to mind is John Outlaw, the late John Outlaw, who passed away in December of 2011. He was just 58 years old. He arrived in Lufkin in 1995. He was an incredibly successful football coach in Arkadelphia, Arkansas. Went to Sherman, did well there, and then came to Lufkin. They needed a little spark. Lufkin's one of those one-horse towns. Temple, Lufkin. There are schools that's it. In amount larger, a little bit larger towns, one-horse towns is what they call them. It's a great place, great commitment, huge stadium, Abe Martin Stadium. He came in 1995. They needed a spark, and my goodness, he gave them a spark. But I never could trust him. And it wasn't that he didn't trust me. I was the enemy. I did back then Lee High School, which is now Legacy High School, radio broadcast. I would ask him for information to get ready for the broadcast. You know, starting quarterback, offensive line, numbers, height, weight, or whatever. Sometimes you get Bill Smith, left tackle, 70, he's a senior. Sometimes the coach will send you a roster that says 6'4", 295, junior, senior, whatever. The first 2 or 3 years that games between Lufkin and Lee, he would send me information, and almost inevitably, it was always a little bit off. Not because he made changes in the starting lineup the next day or two after that or on the night of the game. He was not trusting me to not take that information and turn it around and give it to the opponent. As if the opponent doesn't have everything in front of him from scouting, film. Now you have huddle. Nothing's a secret. Now you may make a difference, make some changes during the week. But so let's get to John Outlaw. 1998, they come up. Lee High School, which had turned the corner with Mike Owens as the head coach, was 8-0. They were 8-0. They played at what was then Trinity Mother Frances Rose Stadium. 34-28, Lufkin wins the game on a walk-off long touchdown run. And the week of the game, I usually on the Saturday of the game, I'll email the coach or call him and say, hey, can you send me what you need? And a lot of times back then you were still getting things from fax machines. Now everything's by email. He sent me the starting lineup, and sure enough, 5 or 6 offensive players were different, 4 or 5 defensive players are different. And then in that time with Lufkin, Longview, Marshall, Lee, John Tyler, those schools, some of us knew each other that did the games, and so we kind of shared that information. If someone had just done Lufkin, broadcast Lufkin, then they would send me what they had. If it was somebody who did John Tyler, Marshall, Longview, whatever. And then vice versa, I would send them what I had of a team that I had just seen. And he always sent me a different type of deal. It was on purpose. So after the game in 98, the next year when Lufkin played Lee in 1999, again, it was a very intense rivalry. Lee was getting to be really good, and Lufkin was moving up. And so I called him and asked him for the starting lineup. And, of course, I kind of had an idea that it wasn't correct. So I got in my car, and I started this tradition of when I broadcast play-by-play for high school football of having a local restaurant supply me with a box of usually Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue when I was in Tyler or now here in Waco. And whoever I broadcast, I would take them a box of brisket and turkey and whatever else to the field house, drop it off. Rarely was I ever there very long, but I would pick up information for their game that week. I did that one day on a whim. I picked up a box of barbecue, and I drove to Lufkin, which was about an hour and 15 or 20 minutes south of Tyler, and I just showed up at the field house, and I had called his secretary, Jennifer, and I had said, hey, when does he normally leave the field house? Because I wanted to make sure I got there before he left. Because if I would have told her, hey, will you tell him I'm coming, he probably would have left. We just didn't. It wasn't that he didn't like me. He just didn't trust me. I get down there. We sit in his office, and I just basically asked him, why are you trying to fool me? It's high school football. I'm not going to put up your starting lineup if there was an injured left guard, and I'm not going to give that to anybody. I'm not going to put it up on the internet. And we absolutely cleared the air. A lot of it also came down to the fact that a year before that, Lee had a quarterback, I won't mention his name, that had gotten in trouble for a DUI. And it was a controversy at the time. Should he play? Should he be suspended? And other schools in the district were like, how come they didn't suspend him? Lufkin that same year had a young man had gotten himself sideways with the law. I didn't care whether they suspended him or not. It was none of my business. It's their program and how they handle their players. Now, sometimes we've had to cover those stories. They haven't been fun. He and I, we broke the ice. We broke bread. And John Outlaw, who passed away in December 23rd of 2011, after that meeting, from that point forward, we became like this. I love the man. The week before he died, I was on the phone driving back to Waco from Tyler, and we shared some information, just talking about life and what I was doing. I was been in Waco for a couple of years now. And, I mean, it was a great conversation about everything but football. He died the next week. And when I got that call, it kind of set me back. I used to not like him. He did not trust me, and we turned out to be incredible friends for almost a decade or plus, right? And it was worth it because I said, you know what? Someone's going to have to break the ice here. Someone's going to have to bury the hatchet here. And so I drove to Lufkin. I'm glad I did. I'm glad I got to know him. I love that man. He's one of many coaches that I've gotten to know incredibly well, and he was a great football coach. He turned Lufkin up on its ear, winning the state championship in 01 with Reggie McNeil when they beat Westlake. I did their semifinal broadcast in the pouring down rain. They came back from 21 points down against Euless Trinity to win that game to get to the state championship. He went to the semifinals like 3 or 4 times as well. South Lake Carroll got him 3 times. But that's a relationship that started off very poorly that turned out to be incredible. I miss that man in John Outlaw. Now, this past week, Greenville beat Frisco Liberty 42-31, and this statistic from Darren Duke, their head coach, jumped all out at me on an email. 444 yards rushing in a win. In my conversation with Greenville's Micah Simpson.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Smoaky.com presents the Texas High School Football Show on 365 Sports. Brought to you by Peters Chevrolet, Bubba's 33, TFNB, your bank for life, and Texas Farm Bureau Insurance.
Greenville quarterback Micah Simpson with us on the statewide high school football podcast. Had a monstrous game against Frisco Liberty, 444 yards, broke records, touchdowns, big win. 42-31, Micah Simpson joins us. What was that like to be in that moment and kind of explain that entire game?
Being in the moment, I really didn't realize what I was doing. I was just out there trying to make plays for my team for us to win. But, like, at the end of the game, everybody was telling me, like, do you not know what you just did? And I'm like regular, like, so nonchalant to it. I'm like, I really didn't even pay attention to it.
You broke the record. Your father was in attendance. Your uncle, Michael, was in attendance. And that was his single-game rushing record that he had, I think, 300 and some yards. What did he say to you? What did your uncle say to you after the game?
After the game, he was like, "You gonna do me?" He was like, "You gonna do me like that?" I was like, because at first I didn't know. I was like, "What you talking about?" He was like, you know, you just broke my record and stuff." He was just telling me.
What's it like to be able to do what you do with the football?
It's just natural. It's just like an instinct. Like, I got to do it every time.
And it wasn't like just the zone read or just quarterback keeper, draw, whatever. It was like an array of different type of runs. What was your favorite run in that game?
My favorite run in that game is when I ran up the middle and did a spin move to the outside and ran down the sideline, tight roped it to the sideline to the end zone. Is there anyone in particular that was your, I want to be like him, whether it's someone who played at Greenville or somebody that played in the NFL or college football? It was Tavon Austin when he played at West Virginia.
Tavon Austin was at West Virginia when they played Baylor in a crazy game back about a decade ago. It was nuts, in fact, 70-63. What did the win mean to your football team?
It meant a lot because last year we went to their place, they blew us out. So we got revenge this year.
34 carries, 444 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 tackles on defense. You had an interception. I think you had a kick return the week before for a touchdown as well. How often do you come off the field, and what's it like when you're not actually in the game playing?
I really don't come off the field much often, but I try to stay on the field because I know if I'm on the field, I can hype my teammates up for them to play hard while everybody on the field.
You're a star in track on the long jump. You play well basketball. You're a point guard. First leg in the sprint relays. Of everything sports or athletics, what's your favorite event or what you do?
In track, my favorite event is long jump. I love long jump. I've always been doing long jump since I was little.
Was that just natural for you?
Yeah, that's just natural.
Well, a lot of people think, though, that long jump, Micah, is you run down the track, the entrance, whatever, and you just fly in the air. But there's a lot of technique involved. How difficult can that be to make sure the timing's good?
It can be difficult because, like, when you're doing your run-throughs to get your mark ready, you got to run the same every time, or your mark going to be different every time. So you just try to do the same thing every time you run down the runway.
What's it like when when they put the flag up that you scratched?
It's like, dang.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like a long run that gets called back because of a penalty.
Yeah.
You mentioned you didn't even realize how many yards you had put up. Who said the first thing to you that it was extra, the number that it was?
It was my uncle. He was watching it live on TV. I guess he was keeping track of it. So as soon as after the game, I went to the locker room and checked my phone. He had all my stats sent to me on text message.
That's awesome, huh? Like, ironic is it that that's family member, and you're sitting there just going off, and he's excited as much as you are.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just the support I get.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about your family. You come from a great family. You're a very good student. You obviously do things right. Coach Duke has told me you're a great young man. You're quiet, but then again, you know when to turn it on or off. Tell me about what your family has meant to you and allowed you to become successful.
My family mean a lot to me. My family, they put everything on the line to make sure me and my sisters get everything we need. We might not have everything we want, but everything we need, they make sure we got it every time. They always gonna be there for us.
Have you ever had adversity in your life? Any kind of setbacks in your life?
Not really. Probably when my granny died last year.
Yeah, I heard she was special. She died COVID at the end of last year. What's your favorite memory of your grandmother?
My granny, like, I was young. I used to like to be outside all the time. And she used to tell me, you want to be in or out?
Coming in and out of the door, the heat was getting inside the house?
Yeah. She used to tell me, stay in or stay out.
Sometimes when someone's quiet, and you're supposedly pretty quiet, you're not a yapper, not a talker, not that you can't have fun and enjoy certain conversations, but a lot of times that person is also just watching and listening and observing. How often do you do that, and what are some things, do you find yourself just taking it all in?
It's just like sitting back and observing. Like when you're quiet, you can find out how that person is just by listening around, not saying nothing, just being observed. So that's what I like about it.
There's a lot of talk these days, isn't there?
Yeah, a lot of people just be talking a lot of days.
When did you break your collarbone?
When I was about 6 or 7, playing flag football. That was at the beginning of the year. Actually, after I hurt my collarbone, I quit flag and never played flag again.
What was it like to watch and not be able to play?
It's like I was anxious to play again. Matter of fact, while I was hurt, I was still outside, like in my neighborhood, playing football with the other kids.
Your father told me about the North Texas National Championship team, 10 or 11-year-olds. It was the Snoop Dogg, is that right, the Snoop Dogg League?
Yeah, the Snoop League, SYFL.
What was that like?
That was crazy. We went all over the world playing different teams from the Snoop League. We actually won a championship, too.
Did you meet him?
Yeah, I met Snoop.
What was that like? What did he tell you? What did he say to you?
He was cool. He was just telling us congratulations on our games. You know how the announcers announce the game as we playing?
Mm-hmm.
He was the one announcing the games and stuff.
That's cool. I met him at a Super Bowl when it was a flag football game for the military, the wounded warriors, for injured military who have helped defend our country, and he was playing in a game, and I got a chance off to the side for a couple minutes. He was so unique, and obviously he was very real. You know, you see the hype and you see all that, the glitz and the glamour, but he really is down deep. He's just a real good dude. You're getting a lot of attention. People are going to want to say, how do we stop Micah Simpson? And your teammates have to do what they do as well. What's next for Greenville?
Win every game after this to gain more attention. College, they've been getting in touch with me. They've been talking about coming to one of my games and stuff, my practices, just coming to check me out.
What are they saying to you?
They really just saying, like, they're going to be watching. Like, put up the good work. They're going to be watching me.
Do you feel like you're getting enough attention?
I feel like I ain't getting enough attention, though.
Just keep doing what you're doing, right?
Yes, sir. It's going to come.
Do you think much about your grandmother when you're playing now?
Yo, every game I pray. I pray to it every game. I know my granny proud, very proud of me. I came a long way, for real.
Your grades are good. You are a young man who understands it. You're humble, you're quiet, but you're electric as a football player. What are your goals in life?
My goals in life, I want to make it to the NFL. That's my main goal, making it to the NFL. That always been my dream since I was 5, since I started playing.
Who's your favorite band or singer?
Can it be a rapper?
Sure.
My favorite rapper is NBA Youngboy, if you know who that is.
Well, I'm a little bit older, but I know a little bit about who the artists are, so okay. Favorite NFL team?
The Bucks.
Tampa Bay's playing Dallas on Sunday. Favorite NBA player?
Ja Morant.
Boy, he can put it up, huh? What a great story he has been. What's your favorite thing to do, Micah, when you're not in class or playing football?
My favorite thing to do? Really just chill with my homeboys, work out, go train.
Who pushed you the most to be an elite player the way you are now?
My Uncle Mike, the record I broke.
Yep.
He pushed me the most.
He had the record for most rushing yards for a quarterback, and then was it Crandall Hale? Is that right?
Crandall Hale?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Do you know him well?
Crandall?
Yeah.
Actually, I seen him the other day. He was just, I was one of my homeboys that went to his college. He used to go to Commerce. He was just talking to my homeboy about college.
You have put your name up there among some of the greatest games in Texas history. Micah, good luck to you in Greenville the rest of the way. Thanks for your time, and don't stop being who you are, which is very special.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, and I thank you, too.
You, too. Micah Simpson, quarterback at Greenville. This is 365 Sports, Smoaky.com's Texas High School Football Podcast. Greenville football coach Darren Duke on Micah Simpson, 444 yards, 6 touchdowns, had a kick return the week before, interception, 3 tackles. How special was that watching him from the sideline?
Well, he's just a playmaker on, offense, defense, special teams. And so, he has just a lot of natural ability, but just a real instinctive athlete. He understands the game, and he sets up blocks and, all those kind of things that good players do. But he's electric. He's a problem for someone else playing you, right? Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, we talked about it. And when he has the ball in his hands, he's a problem for the defenses for sure. And for us, it's a good problem. Let's try to figure out how many different ways we can get the ball in his hands. But he's a big-time playmaker. He seems to be level-headed, quiet, but also paying attention. Obviously electric athletically. He's also a AB student as well in class. Yes, sir. Good student and a competitor. He wants to do good at everything. He wants to, basketball. He's a leader on the court, in the track, on track. He's on the relay teams. And so, just pretty much in everything he does, he wants to be successful. He's very goal-oriented and is kind of knows how to work to accomplish those. 444 yards, Darren. You've been in this business a long time. I've put down stats for a lot of young men over the years, and 40-plus years. That's one of the most I've seen. Did you realize it was that number as the game was going on into the third and fourth quarter? No, we really had no idea. It was a back-and-forth contest, so, we were really just trying to win the game. And, we had a lot of starters out, and Micah actually moved the quarterback on Tuesday. And so it was one of those things where during the game we're just, trying to take advantage of what he does, and pretty much everything he did worked well. Thank you, Coach. Go Lions. Yeah! Are y'all ready? Are y'all ready? What? Yeah! Y'all ready to play some football? If you wanna look again and let me know. I'm about to break this down. If you wanna look again and let me know. I'm about to break this thing up. If you want some, come get some.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears!
Smoaky.com presents the Texas High School Football Show on 365 Sports. Brought to you by Peters Chevrolet, Bubba's 33, TFNB, your bank for life, and Texas Farm Bureau Insurance.
Always want to thank who helps put this on. Jack McKenzie and also Jacob Wilson behind the scenes here on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports, Smoaky.com's weekly high school football podcast. But also Peters Chevrolet, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, TFNB, your bank for life, Bubba's 33, and U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company. So here are the elite games of the week. There are 30 every single week, and this is from Jerry Forrest and pigskinprep.com. If you look at the graphic, on the left-hand side, you'll see where it says Jerry's pick in bold. That is how much or who is favored on whoever has the bold number in black to the left or right of the game. Also, then in parentheses, you'll see the rank. And then that's where teams are ranked in whatever classification they're in. But the key here and how this is listed 1 through 30, rank totals to the right. The lower the number, the higher, more elite game it is, because that means you might have, in this case, Dangerfield and Simpson, teams ranked third and second, who have a combined total of 5, and that's the highest ranked game according to Pigskin Prep, which is an incredible website for high school football. Dangerfield coming off the win against Tatum. Their quarterback had a huge game. Chase Johnson, over 400 yards passing, 6 touchdowns. Jakevian Rogers, a very highly recruited player, 207 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns. They're 2-0. Timpson, as a guy, a young man, he's a man. Terry Bussey, 8 touchdowns combined last week. He ran for 6. He is a dude, an alpha. And they play that game in Dangerfield. There's a 6-man game, Westbrook. They're really good. They're almost on here every week because they play good people, and they're highly ranked against Rankin. Denton Geyer off to a 2-0 start against Lancaster. Both are 2-0. Lancaster just won their game against South Oak Cliff. South Oak Cliff. They're off to a great start. North Shore and Westfield. North Shore, we had John Kay, their head coach, on the 4 state championships. And Westfield got them one year. And Westfield is a team that I remember in 94 played in the state championship game when I was doing games for Lee High School in Tyler, and Lee won that game. Westfield's very, very good. In fact, they knocked Midway out back just 3 or 4 years ago. Poth and Shiner. There's a few more. That Dallas Parish Episcopal, the private school with great wins. Aledo, and they play Austin LBJ. They're 1-1. They made that great run last year to the state championship. Argyle, Grapevine. There's Wimberley. How about Brock 0-2, but again, playing good people. And then the next 10. Some of the games to pick out there, down a little bit about midway. Well, no, the 4th game, DeSoto and South Oak Cliff. South Oak Cliff is good, but they've played Duncanville and Lancaster, and now they play DeSoto. They, of course, I guess it was a Cinderella story because they won a state championship for Dallas last year. But they'll be good. They'll be fine. But what a schedule they have to start off with. Martin with Bob Wager, the head coach, with great wins, including one against Lake Travis. They have Allen. Allen had their first win after getting smoked in the opener. Arlington Martin's off to a great start. There's Salado and Malakoff. Salado with Tom Westerberg, the head coach, are throwing the ball around all over the place. Malakoff had a great win to open the year against West Rusk, and then was beaten 21-17 by Grandview. But both of those are elite 3A teams. Now, go down to the final 10. There's Connally. We just highlighted Terry Gerik a moment ago. Had the win against La Vega. Now they get tested by Yo on the road in Cameron. And down next to the last game, this will be a very high-scoring game, you would think. Joaquin lost 42-41 this past week. Tenaha 2-0. It was Jatirian Moore who had 400 yards rushing in their season-opening win against West Sabine. He's one to watch, and Joaquin, the Rams, always put up a ton of points. And Ennis trying to get their first win against Heritage. Ennis is 0-2. Those are the games of the week. You can go to Smoaky.com, look for the Pick'em link, look for the high school sports link, click on it. You have until 5 o'clock Thursday to enter, and the winner gets a gift certificate for 2, dinner for 2, to Bubba's 33 in Waco or Longview or wherever you want to go and eat that fantastic food. And their menu is fantastic. I love the Cajun chicken and shrimp pasta. That's my favorite deal, but the hamburgers, the wings, the pizzas, it's all good at Bubba's 33. Thanks to Nathan Watkins for that, and Philip Dunn from Bubba's 33 in Waco. So those are the elite games. Thursday, 5 o'clock, the poll closes. Go to Smoaky.com, pick the games, 30 of them. The winner will get a certificate, again, for 2 to eat at Bubba's 33. All right, thanks to everyone, the sponsors you've heard about. And, man, we love all of them. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, TFNB, your bank for life, Peters Chevrolet, Bubba's 33, and also, as well, thanks to U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company and what they do for the youth, to give them an opportunity if they don't know what's going to happen when they get out of high school, if they're just not sure what they want to do, serve our country, go to GoArmy.com. For Jack and also for Jacob, thank you. The Texas High School Football Statewide Podcast, powered by Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports, and Smoaky.com. I'm David Smoak. Enjoy week number 3. Battle in the gun with Hill to his right. Play action to the right. Steps up, throws over the middle. He's got Thornton. Caught it! Junior Thornton. Split 6. Touchdown. Midway.
Smoaky.com presents the Texas High School Football Show on Sikkim 365 Radio. Brought to you by Peters Chevrolet, Bubba's 33, TFNB, your bank for life, and Texas Farm Bureau Insurance.
Hill, right side, finds a seam. Hill, 20. Hill, 10. Hill, touchdown. Midway, no flags. Midway takes the lead by more than one score. And how about the Big Uglies inside?